Live from Honolulu, Hawaii, it's Baptiz by Fire. And here's your host, Justin Baptiz.
Welcome back to another episode of Baptiz By Fire, Conversations with Justin, where we dive into the stories, struggles, and triumphs of our incredible guests. And I'm your host, Justin Baptiz. And we are here with a very special guest. I am pleased and honored to have this wonderful musician here with me today. She's been doing exceptional work in the jazz genre and is making a stop to Hawaii in August to be a part of the Aloha Jazz Festival, and been doing her thing for quite some time. It's a pleasure to have here with us today, Althea René. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Much better now. But it's been busy. It's about to really ramp up the whole festival touring season. So I'm really looking forward to it and a lot of good things that are happening despite all the craziness around the world. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, you're going to be performing in Hawaii for the first time at the Hilton
Yes.
Hawaiian Village for the Aloha Jazz Festival, which runs from August 20th to August 23rd. How excited are you to be performing in Hawaii, and what can we be expecting of your performance?
Well, it's always high energy. I always enjoy, people having fans, new fans, people who maybe aren't familiar with me personally, but have maybe heard my music. So I get a lot of that where, people have heard my songs and so it's always a great thing, just high energy, always positive. Always a clean show. You can bring your mom, your grandma, your kids, you know. Um, yeah, and I just like to represent. I've been on the scene for, a long time playing an instrument that hasn't always been popular in jazz. So it's really a beautiful thing to be able to bring all of that together. And I also play for the musicians who can no longer play. We've lost a lot of our friends and family in the music world. And so I tell you, you never know how long a run you have. And so, if you have a gift, then you owe it to share it. So that's what I'm about.
Yeah, and speaking on that, you've been playing the flute since 4 years old. So
Yeah.
how special is that for you since you've been on this incredible run in your music career? And what's been the keys to your success on just being able to continue to thrive?
I think just sheer determination. There was a period where I wanted to play jazz and flute, like I said, wasn't a popular instrument in smooth jazz, and they would not even play a flute on the radio. So there was, I came up during that period where I was for a long time the only one out there playing a flute. And it would always be, well, do you do anything else? You don't sing, you don't, do you play any other instruments? Do you play saxophone? Or it's like, no, it's just the flute. And so I didn't get hired in bands or to play like on big main stages where they had a horn section because I didn't double on instruments. And so it really limited me. But the good thing about it is that it forced me to create my own style and my own brand. And so now it's a lot more widespread. There are several flutists, doing their thing. And I'd like to think that in part I had something to do with that.
Your music, I've been listening to Soul Flow, which is on
Ah,
your upcoming album, Conspiracy Theory.
yes.
So can you share us the vision behind just creating the new album, and what can listeners expect from this new project you got coming out?
Well, I reconnected with Trippin' and Rhythm label. I had signed with them in 2013, And and then years went by. That's where I had my first number one was with Trippin' and Rhythm label. And we parted, but we parted on great terms and everything. And then we came together. I had a show in Portugal, and they just happened to be there representing another artist that they had. And they were like, "Wow, why did we ever let you go? Let's reunite." And so that's kind of how it happened, and we reunited for this project. And they brought on board two really, really talented young up and coming artists that when they sent me music, because I always co-write my music, so I write my melodies, and so these producers, they sent me the music, and I would listen and see what I liked and what I felt. And I was so moved that most of the songs that they sent me, I was able to just right away come up with the melody. I have my little recording studio right here, and I do all of my flute parts and everything right here in this in my office. So I was able to just come up and just crank out, and we worked. It took us only about 3 weeks to write the whole project. And the stuff, the ideas and the creativity that they brought out of me, and that I guess I brought out of them by working so fast. We just had a great time, and before we knew it, we had what I would think is a slamming project. And so you've heard at least one or two of those songs from the project already.
Absolutely. Now, and speaking of albums, In the Flow was, I mean, a great album, obviously, for you. It hit the smooth jazz billboards at
Yeah.
#1.
Mhm.
Kind of talk about what does that milestone mean to you, just personally in your career?
Well, I was actually the first flutist in the history of the flute to have a number one on Billboard. So that's how significant that was, that not one other flutist had ever had a number one on Billboard, which I find amazing because of my idols. I can't even believe that is a thing. But yeah, so I was actually the first to do that, and then recently to have another number one, with Synergy. Just was just a great, great feeling. Yeah, it's a great feeling.
Now, when you talk about idols, who were some of your inspirations in music? And when you look back on just where you've begun, when you first started out in the music career, what has changed throughout the years? Have you seen any changes, any differences?
Well, yeah, because radio, radio was a lot more diverse, and you heard a lot more music. It wasn't like it had to be just a certain genre. If it was jazz, then it was played on the jazz station. So some of my early idols were, Hubert Laws, Dave Valentine, and then on the jazz side of it, James Moody. But even later, Ian Anderson with Jethro Tull and Yusuf Lateef. Um, those were flutists that they were some of the first flutists that I ever heard singing the flute, sing while they're playing. And I was so intrigued because I thought, well, wow, these are, male voices doing this. And I wondered how it would sound, with a female voice, a higher octave doing it. And that's kind of how I got on this started, vocalizing and just doing different things with the flute that people, that I could incorporate in my style where I was, being younger.
Now, I'm quite curious, if your career wasn't being a flutist, what do you think your career would have been in
Yeah.
regards to music, doing work in the law enforcement? So,
hmm Well, that's what I had to do. If I think if I wasn't doing the music, then I would have been a stylist, a hairstylist, or and or a stylist. in the fashion industry because that's something that I really enjoy. I'm my own stylist, you know, and so most jazz artists don't have the money, and I think I do a pretty good job because that it's what I enjoy. So yeah, those are some of the things, I've always been able to do that within my family, within my friends. They're like, "Oh, would you do my hair? Would you do my makeup?" So that's just something I've always been good at.
Your career, you did have law enforcement that you were doing for quite some time. So I'm definitely
Yeah.
quite curious to know when was that turning point for you, going from the law enforcement side to having that shift to music? And how do you feel like that transition shaped up for you as an artist in your career?
Well, I had gone out on the road one time too many and didn't get paid. And I was a single parent and two young boys at that time. And my mom told me, she said, "Girl, you got to get a real job." So, um, so yeah, I thought I needed stability. And, as a mother, you do what you need to do in order to take care of your children. So it wasn't something that I just wanted to do. But when you take the test for the police force, then you can either, once you pass the test, then you can choose state police, um, local police, or Wayne County Sheriff. And I thought I was choosing the lesser of the three evils. So I chose the sheriff's department. And it was bad. I mean, there's no division of the police department that's going to be, it's just one thing you're doing one thing. If you're state police, you're out on the road. If you're county police, you're chasing after criminals. And if you're county, then you're in the courts, the jails, transport. And so, yeah, so I've done all of that.
Must have been tough.
Yeah. It was, like I look back and I said, I don't know how I did that because I've gone soft.
When we talk about your success and your career, obviously, growing in Detroit, Michigan, it's music town, Motown or whatnot. Your father being a part of the legendary Funk Brothers.
Yes. Yes. My dad played trumpet on more than 35 Motown hits. And it was incredible because he never talked about it. And, I was the baby of four children. So he was gone. He, had left Motown, my earliest memory, though, I guess I was about four, maybe. And this car stopped in front and they asked could they come in and use our restroom. And I asked my sister because they were all freaking out. And I just remember saying, "Who is that?" And my dad took me out to the car and he said, "That's Stevie Wonder, that's Diana Ross." And somebody else was in the car. And I said to my sister, "Who's that?" And she said, "That's Diana Ross, stupid." So that's kind of like my earliest memory. But the Funk Brothers, the ones that stayed in Detroit, I didn't know them as the Funk Brothers. I knew them as the band that my dad played with for years and years. That was the band they played all over town, and and I knew them personally, but I didn't know them as the Funk Brothers until the PBS special where they were, doing the special on the Funk Brothers and they came together. And by then, my dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And so he was too sick to do the video and be a part of it. Yeah. So that was pretty sad, but he left me the royalty checks, and that's how I know how many exactly what movies, who we played with. It was unbelievable because he never talked about it, but he played, and because they went in, it was like a job that every day they went in and cut songs not knowing who those songs were going to be given to. So, because that was their method of we just create a lot of songs and then we decide who is going to get the song. So that's how he wound up on so many different songs.
Your father being as legendary as he is in music, how did that create your sound? And what were some of the memories that you have with your dad as far as like just with music? Do you guys like have like a favorite song together or?
Mm. Yeah, we used to play. I went to Howard University on a flute scholarship, and then when I told him, expressed that I wanted to play jazz, he wasn't really happy about that, and he didn't want me to be in this business, you know. Um, so, but he did have a jam session every Sunday that he had, and I started going out there, and those were some of the early, memories that I have um, of learning songs. We would play standards like Sugar and Song from My Father. I have two brothers that are musicians as well, and so we would go out there and we would play those together. And yeah, so those were some of my fond memories. My brother over me, he was he played trumpet and drums, but he played trumpet on the iconic Wild Cherry, Play That Funky Music. He played the original, and he was able to go to the Grammys and perform it. So that's kind of like his, claim to fame.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
You know, you studied classical music at Howard University. I know they
Yes.
mentioned that you were there for jazz. Well,
Yes.
as being a part of Howard University and what it stands for, being an HBCU,
Yes.
how did that shift in musical direction approach the way that you use the flute today?
I think it made me more expansive, and that's where I started wanting to play jazz while I was there because I started going to the jam sessions and and really getting into that side of it. And yeah, I just wanted to do more than just teach or just play classically. So, um, there was a lot of legacy, within Howard University and the people that came out of Howard and the success, and the type of jazz was very kind of straight ahead, prolific, type jazz. So there was always that feeling of just not wanting to be regular or just getting by. I always wanted to be extraordinary, remembered.
You've been performing at jazz venues all over the world, big jazz music festivals or whatnot. Is there a particular memory or memories that stand out to you the most in your career?
Mm, that's a hard one because I think I've yet to experience all of them. But Dubai was definitely a great memory. A couple of years ago, I was on the Dave Coz cruise, and that was definitely a memory for the books because of how well it's run. It's run like a well-run production company. And I like that. I like that it elevates you. There was like you did at least three or four shows a week, um, I mean, on your own, and that's just you. And then you did other things, during the week. And to have to perform at that level consistently really, really gets you, if you this it's not for, the beginner or this is, these are things that are for seasoned musicians, having to learn songs on the fly, having to perform with other artists and and learn their songs and only having a couple an hour, maybe not even an hour to learn it. And just never telling yourself, I can't do this, but just make it happen. And that's what I learned with Dave Koz, you know. So I will always appreciate him for that. You know, but there have been some other, I mean, there are the Thornton Jazz Festival that I did last year, and I'm going to be on it again this year in the wine country. Um, I love the Napa Jazz getaway with Brian Culberson. It's so many. There are so many. Seabreeze. You know, I've been with Seabreeze Jazz Festival for since the beginning of my career, and they consistently bring me back every couple years, and so I appreciate them, you know, as well.
You mentioned about performing the tour life, especially being something that's a consistent, rapid pace of certain things. How do you keep it together?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I do Pilates. I am an advocate for Pilates. So that, you know, it's a full body type workout and it's a focus. Really, it's not about lifting heavy weights and that type of thing, but it's about supporting your own body weight and also the focus, the mental, to be able to just it's kind of like yoga. It's kind of, you know, meditation in a sense where you control your breathing. And so that's one thing. And also, you know, when I'm traveling, there are a lot of rules that I have for myself in terms of getting my rest. So there's not a lot of hanging out, you know, on show days. If I go in the day before, then I'm going to sleep, you know, I'm waking up, I'm making sure that I eat, things like that.
You are coming out to Hawaii for the very first time.
Yes.
Is there anything you have in mind as far as what you like to do when you come out here to Hawaii? Anything you've maybe researched to learn about Hawaii that, I might want to do a couple things while I'm here?
Well, my son just left. As a matter of fact, Sunday or Monday, he and his wife, his new wife, they were there, and the whole time he was calling me and saying, "Mom, you got to go, you know, have breakfast at this place, but you got to get up early and you got to stand in line." And then they went to the waterfalls, and he was telling me about the day hike. So there are definitely, you know, things that they did a lot. You know, they went to the pineapple uh, plant. You know, yeah, what do you call it, plantation or the pineapple? Help me.
It's it's Doe Plantation.
Okay. Well, yeah. So that sounded like fun. I don't know, you know.
Yeah, Hawaii is definitely a wonderful spot, and it's definitely a soothing and relaxing place for sure.
Great. Well, I definitely have to get in a beach day because I absolutely love the ocean and anytime I'm near it, I have to take the time to just relax. So that's something that without even saying that that's in the plans.
I love it. You mix contemporary jazz, funk, and instrumental R&B into your style. In regards to that, how do you stay creative and maintain your signature sound?
By always allowing yourself to be around creative people. And, you know, if you stay in your own bubble and you don't take it, you know, any advice or any creative, direction from other people, you'll never grow. But I'm constantly growing because you know, I always keep an open mind and I'm always eager to learn. You're never too old to learn. And yeah, yeah, I still practice every day and and I take, you know, in advice. Um, but mainly it's the music that inspires me, the music that I'm around, you know, that inspires me.
Music that inspires you, balancing a full-time career in the law enforcement while building your music career. It definitely couldn't have been easy for you, but what lessons from that chapter do you take from that part of your career that has been something that maybe has influenced you today?
Well, I think it's given me discipline, because and at an extreme level because you have Officer McCullers and Althea René, and sometimes they have to change over quickly, you know. So that definitely, the balance and the shift is just it's just about your focus and always focusing on where you want to be, not necessarily where you are, but where do you see yourself? So I've said it when I start making more money than I make at the sheriff's department, then that was a sign. And when I met my husband, he says, do the music full time, but you have to make it a business. And so, resign. That's what I did. I resigned from the sheriff's department and and I dove into the music full time. But my first project that I did, I took the money from me playing music on the side, and I learned how to produce and and do my first project. So I paid for it through from the money I made from my music while I was at the sheriff's department and promoted it to radio and the whole nine yards, you know. And so that was something really good. You have to be able to invest in yourself. And so I've been doing that really all throughout my career, but now I'm doing it. I'm taking on projects where I go to another country and um, and I set something up and I perform. And although I may not get my normal fee, it's something that I'm doing to invest in myself to um, to gain popularity and spread my music throughout the world. So I've done that in Panama City, Panama. I've done that in London. It's a bucket list to do that in Japan, So these are places, the Blue Note, that's a bucket list, And so it's great. This year, Hawaii, um, Jakarta, I'll be at the Java Jazz Festival. I've never been to Indonesia. So this is great. Although these aren't projects, I'm actually being paid to be in Hawaii and Indonesia. So but I've been asked to come back to Panama, and so I'm being paid, my fee to come back. So that's the thing. You have to plant these seeds, and you have to be willing to invest in yourself. You can't just sit back and expect that everybody's just going to know you automatically. And so that's the thing, And for me, I'm, you keep growing and you shouldn't stop growing to just keep continue to expand. That's where I am right now in my life, that I want to be all over the world.
And you've definitely done it all, and you're continuing to do a lot of great things in your career. You've got 8 albums out, and you've
11.
okay, 11 albums out,
11.
decades in
Yeah,
the music industry. What continues to drive your passion? What continues to keep you going?
because I play for those who can no longer play. As a true artist, you don't retire. Something happens and you can't play, If you're a true artist, you don't stop playing, you know. Things happen where you can no longer do the thing that you love. So, and I just want to continue to do it at a high level, the highest level that I can, you know. And that's it keeps me grounded. Um, I love my life, I do. But I also love um, I love performing. It makes people happy and it makes me happy.
As far as making people happy, you've also authored a book, Becoming Chocolate Barbie, is I guess you could say it's a guide for people who are in the music industry. So tell us about your book that you've authored and what you hope that people take away from that.
Well, I did it. It's probably time for a part two at this point. Um, a lot has changed in the music, but I wanted to do it specifically for women, but it can really apply to young women or men in the music industry because there are a lot of things that pressure you, and there are a lot of pitfalls um, and where people tell you, they can do something for you, and but what are you going to do for me? And so the book really tells you that it's okay to say no if you feel uncomfortable with anything, and that anything that's presented to you that if they don't give you the time to have an attorney look it over or to think about it, then it's not worth it, and it's okay to say no. And so that's basically some of the pitfalls, and I included some of the stories that I went through with some record labels when I was younger that, I had the interview and it was, very specific that it really didn't have anything to do with my talent. And that's one of the hardest things is to get up and walk out on what you think is a major opportunity, and people will try to railroad you as far as your music and publishing, make sure that you retain your music, um, your writers. If you wrote the song, you don't just give someone your songs without copyrighting them. You don't sign away your publishing because later on that's all you have. Sometimes that's what you live on, you know, and it's just a lot of seediness that I've just, I try to include some things in the book, some references of where you can find information. And so, but someone trying to get you to sign something really quickly or make decisions really quickly, that's a sign. That's a negative sign.
You shared advice on music, the industry, and you've given lots of gems on that. And I feel that that's very useful. And I feel like people should really take that into accountability as far as the music career is concerned.
Mhm.
But besides that, 11 studio albums, decades of success in the music industry. Is there anything that you wish you would have known when you first started out in your career?
How long it would take. Yeah. How long it would take. I didn't plan on that, but yeah, hey, life happens how it happens, and I have no regrets. But if I could do it again, I would have wished that I could have started in the business, in the part of the business of performing on big stages earlier.
Releasing Conspiracy Theory, it's your new album coming out, and I'm sure you got a lot more in the tank as far as just your music career and what you got going on. So I'm quite curious, what can we expect from you in the near future? What's some of the goals that you have in mind?
Wow. I would really like to be able to to lecture on some of the things, that were in the book. Um, I would definitely like to be part of a panel that, maybe a retreat for artists coming up, because it's gotten a lot weirder now, with the AI, and with the laws and everything. And I would really like to really dive into that more. Um, on my YouTube channel, I try to cover different things, but it's so much. I mean, from um, when you're on stage, what's some of the equipment that you need? to be on stage in terms of your ears so that you can hear yourself perform, in terms of a band, in terms of how do you have music for your band, just the ins and outs of doing of performing. When you go to a concert and you see the performer up there, you just, you're vibing with the music and you see the whole thing finish, but you don't see that you need, a musical director and that you need to have your music all charted. And, because otherwise, if you're just giving a tape to somebody and wanting them to learn all your music, they're gonna look at you like you don't know what you're doing. So all these different things, I would love to be part of some kind of a retreat or where a panel that we could talk about the steps to making sure as an artist that you're prepared and that you know the steps of the things that you have to do before you even go out in the world and perform. So that's kind of where I want to be. That's where I see myself, still performing, but also educating and passing on knowledge.
And when we talk about just passing on knowledge and educating, what advice would you give to somebody who is maybe wanting to start out becoming a flutist? And I'm quite curious, you've made a career out of being a flutist, soul jazz flutist, I should say. You've dived into, or maybe you got success in that other instrument as well.
Well, I'm a writer, so I've written pretty much every original song that you've heard. I co-wrote it, and I've produced. So playing is one thing, but I've also performed on almost 40 songs of other artists, of other major artists. So that's another thing that I do is that as a side musician, I've played on tracks for many artists, and that's a quite lucrative career as well. Some people are only studio musicians, and that's all they do. You don't even know them, and they've played on everybody's music. So this is just something that these are different things that you can do in addition to performing. Everybody doesn't want to be out in front, but there are all kinds of things that you can do behind the scenes.
And speaking on that, the songwriting aspect of things, writing on other people's songs, collaborations in the near future, maybe someone that you haven't dived into as far as working with. And do you have a favorite person that you wrote a song for?
It's been so many. I'm actually getting ready to do a mini movie, yeah, a mini movie, and so I'm waiting on the music for that. Um, but just thinking, yeah, I mean, it's so many. Generally, when music is sent to me, it's already there, and then they say, "Can you put your flute, on this particular part?" So that's kind of how it's been. It's not so much that I've written songs and then it's been on their project. I co-write songs that are on my project, and then I perform flute parts on other people's songs. So yeah, that's the way it's kind of been. I'm the feature artist on their song, or played flute on their song, like Brian Culberson's. Can't think of the name of this song, but he's one, and just a ton of people. If you go to Spotify and just put collaborations Althea René, they all come out. Because some of them I don't even remember, anymore. It's been so many over the years. But I love them all. I love doing them. And yeah, that's a part of who I am.
Well, we definitely love who you are as a person, as being somebody who's multi-talented and has had a lot of success in your career. I'm definitely proud of you. I'm looking forward to what you got coming up. forward to seeing you in Hawaii. I'm so glad we were able to get this interview, and I'm definitely wishing you all the best.
All right. Thank you so much.
And that concludes another conversation with Justin. You can reach Justin Baptiz on any of his social media handles listed here. So, until we meet again, remember, it's Baptiz by Fire.